As you know, listening is often more important than speaking, and I have listened closely to leaders of many countries, particularly Commonwealth nations, whose communities are some of the most climate vulnerable on this earth. King Charles and Princess Diana's marriage was among the many public marriages that gathered the public's admiration. We're talking about admiration from over 750 million people when the marriage happened. You would expect that this type of marriage would be a bed of roses, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. The reason why this wedding of the century, which once started as a fairy tale, turned into a nightmare, would leave you in awe, especially when King Charles finally admits what the whole world had been suspecting. Join us as we delve into the shocking details of King Charles's marriage. For decades, King Charles has had to deal with being in the spotlight in an often unruly manner. The spotlight came with critics' judgment and shocking opinions that revolved around him, especially as he was set to become the next king. However, King Charles showed that he could overcome the controversies at an early age, treading on the path to becoming the next prominent figure in the British royal family. As he overcame adversity and set his eyes on the royal prize, which he later claimed when crowned king, it seemed as though things were falling into place for him. That is, until he decided to play games that came with prizes too big to handle. For decades, King Charles managed to suppress the repercussions of his decisions. But in recent times, as he finally admitted certain truths, his revelations have been nothing short of shocking. The well-respected, loved, and admired king, Charles might have tarnished the image he worked so hard to build. As eager as we are to reveal these revelations, we should take a step back and talk about where it all began. King Charles was born on November 14, 1948. Unlike many other children, Charles was born into royalty and soon became the heir apparent when his mother, Queen Elizabeth, ascended to the throne in 1952. Although King Charles had three siblings, Anne, Andrew, and Edward, he was the one who experienced the spotlight and enjoyed royalty to its fullest. But it came at a cost. When King Charles was set to be the heir apparent, that became the central focus of his life until he became king. With a huge responsibility lying ahead, there was no time for Charles to grow up like most children around him, including his siblings. He was immediately groomed into the lifestyle and routine of royal blood. Because this was done to him at such an early age, it had a downside. This was noticed whenever he appeared in public. In another revelation, King Charles talked about his parents' childhood and way of life, saying his parents were both physically and emotionally distant, making him feel isolated when he needed their love the most. King Charles further added a surprising revelation that seemed to answer a lingering public question over the past decades. If you happen to observe interactions with King Charles, especially during public events, it's hard not to notice his overly sensitive side, which is often on display. This emotional vulnerability wasn't just there by nature, but was the result of childhood trauma developed over the years. King Charles's sensitive and empathetic side has been a point of controversy throughout his life, particularly as he approached the throne. Many in the public stated it wasn't ideal to have a king whose compassionate side was so visible, as they would have preferred someone more stoic. However, this empathetic nature wasn't just self-proclaimed, it had a backstory that would surprise you as it did us. As a child, King Charles was sent to one of the toughest schools for a boy of his nature. His father, Prince Philip, wanted him to attend Gordonstoun, and even though the school was one of the top in the United Kingdom, it had its challenges. The rigorous curriculum, combined with Charles being constantly bullied, was too much for him to handle. This pressure made him crumble. To this day, King Charles jokingly blames his father for sending him to the school. However, Charles also praised the school, stating that it taught him a great deal about himself, his abilities, and his disabilities. In a 1975 interview, Charles said he was glad he had attended Gordonstoun, though the toughness of the place was exaggerated. Charles later remarked, "I didn't enjoy school as much as I might have, but that was only because I'm happier at home than anywhere else." After his time at Gordonstown, Charles was expected to join the British armed forces, just like those before him, but he had other plans. Instead of immediately joining the military, Charles pursued higher education. He went on to become the first British heir apparent to earn a university degree, graduating from the University of Cambridge with a second-class lower Bachelor of Arts degree. This decision led to tension within the royal family, but Charles showed his tenacity and completed his degree. Despite the complications within the royal family due to his refusal to immediately serve in the military, Charles eventually underwent military training, proving his critics wrong. His journey in the military began with training in the Royal Air Force, where he displayed remarkable intelligence and determination. His instructors were impressed, and Charles soon embarked on a career in the Royal Navy, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfathers. Charles's military career was marked by significant accomplishments, including being promoted to commander and serving as the commanding officer of the Tongue-class minesweeper HMS Bronington. His time in the military helped shape him as a leader and earned him respect, even though he faced many challenges along the way. King Charles's journey is a remarkable one, filled with personal and public trials, and his revelations have given the world a deeper insight into the man behind the crown